Hello, welcome to episode 22 of Study Mode.
While we concede that legal precedents may happen, as in historical court cases may change laws, you still need to work within the legal system to change those cases when the legal system is already against these movements in the first place.
Metzmusic.
First, it breeds complacency. When you know that you're going to get the funding regardless of your merits or achievements, you have the incentive to hold back on working hard and doing your best to impart knowledge onto students. We can already see this in professors who have tenure. Yet there are those who still continue to work hard, but professors who have tenure are infamously known to be the worst profs in universities because they don't teach and do the bare minimum because they know that they cannot be taken down even if they do horribly. other support system. Having a diverse group is great, but with issues that concern the relationship, with issues that concern your family together and your life together, it's better to talk about it with each other, because what you do affects them too. Your SO is who you're most vulnerable to, because it's a deeper relationship that you can be open about. When you have a problem with your partner and you're each other's significant support system, then you'd be able to communicate clearly and understand where the other person is coming from, instead of relying on people who might give you one-sided advice of like break up with them or it's their fault, because of how you can also phrase your own venting. You go to the source, which is like you go to the source and deal with it with your partner, because that's the best way to relieve interpersonal uncertainty and conflict. It hits right at the heart of the critical mass theory saying that if you want big change, you need a big amount of people to be calling for that change. So like basically, social movements thrive on masses. A social movement will never get off the ground when there is not enough people who want the status quo to be changed. You need to gather enough people to say that they want and need the change to happen in society, because usually these movements don't just draw on the legal side. They don't just want legal change, they want societal change as well. Seeing others in their own places standing up for what you believe in can give you the push to start your own grassroots movement in your own area. Sharing your story to others becomes a powerful tool in the arsenal of getting change that you can just share wherever you go, rather than the slowness of suing people in countries where you have to do your own research, which takes a long amount of time. Politicians are good, getting defamed by their haters, the lawsuit of defamation will still likely be in their favor. Why? First is if the politician is bad, for example, they're corrupt, they're money hungry, they're power hungry, they have the state capital, the money, the connections, the power to be able to influence the case in such a way that it would favor them. Even if you do have that safeguard of them having a higher barrier to be able to sue people, with their power in status quo, they can plant evidence to show that there's likely malice and therefore their case will still push through. And with the courts, the system's already gonna favor them, and politicians just keep their power and will want to win the case no matter how unjustly. If they're a bad politician, allowing them to sue others for defamation creates a chilling effect when people know that speaking out against this politician will get them sued, which means that the person is burdened with all the fees that comes with getting sued. Just the payment for a lawyer alone is already too much for some people to pay off, and it's already really hard because the politician can already sway the votes in their favor. Reason number 2 is even if the politician is good, if they care for the people, if they actually serve their people well, the system is still more likely to pander to them, because those who are working in the justice bureaucracy will look up to these people and understand that they are good people, which already puts an inherent bias even then, because their good deeds are on spotlight as public figures.
Metzmusic.
You're coming from the same branch and are supposed to believe in the same God, but then how is it that this God favors this in this sect and this God favors this when they're supposed to be the same? They're gonna have a hard time trying to find their identity in the presence of these religious sects. Those who believe in the overarching religion now need to find where they fit in the context of differing sects with different beliefs. There's also issues with allegiance, accountability, and if you're in the middle of a religion that's developing a sect, there is an internal conflict for you to choose a side of what will you believe, and this is important because it's not just a problem with singular people, it's a problem for society. It removes the fundamental purpose of religion, which is a moral framework and comfort. What comfort can bring, when you keep changing the dogma, what framework are you gonna have when you don't even know what you believe anymore? In a religion where you see religious doctrines as the absolute truth, what is the truth between two truths that come out of the same line? This leads to people cherry picking whatever religions are convenient for them. The moment that you have a lot of compelling religions that broke away from the parent religion, it would be easy for you to just pick and choose which beliefs you'd actually want to believe. This is the same problem with Gov saying interpretation is a person's freedom. On Gov's world, you're literally incentivizing people to choose whatever is convenient for them to subscribe to. We think that this is bad for 3 reasons. It leads to people choosing whatever works for them. It leads to hypocrisy. And this is how you get further decline of religion on your world. In this instance, people can just pick and choose. There's no use in having a religion anyway in the first place because there's no moral guide. You just pick what your moral guide is. Okay, so what do I actually offer if I become your chair? So I want a balance of organization and flexibility, because on the side of organization, I want to use my knowledge in planning and communication to help keep things on track, and on the side of flexibility, I want to future-proof processes and help adapt them to a possible blended learning experience while maintaining also committee well-being. So I'm not really an organized person, and I also know how events go because you've seen how many events I actually had to head and be involved in, because I've seen a lot of problems with leadership and people being really scared to take on leadership roles. I think kind of tangible proof of that is seeing how little like candidates we have tonight. Actually, then we currently have a list of committees and what they do, detailed in the consti, and there's a pub about each committee that you can find in the Facebook group somewhere. I'm not sure how often it's posted actually, but basically we also have like a kind of primer on what each committee does and what you're supposed to expect when you're part of the committee. So for our role primer it's a document detailing the roles of committee heads and the various steercom headships. So this like shows their limits of power and what is expected of them. Movement that does not blindly follow the rules based on gender, because that's how the patriarchy has been perpetuated for centuries, because the patriarchy supports other men because they're men and not women. That's how it was done over and over again for how many years. We don't want to repeat that cycle. We want equal treatment and not special treatment. We don't want to create a new patriarchy just because we're supporting all women. Okay, so let me tackle that with the rest of my arguments then. So we think that in the pragmatic, we further pressure the countries who are empowered to create economic policies and adopt new policies in effect to reduce their reliance on Russian trade. Okay, we're saying that these countries who are not making any effort to reduce are the ones who are heavily disenfranchised because they need these resources right now. Because having the secondary sanctions will be punishing EU nations that are already building additions but not cutting the addiction. The reason that Germany can't just cut off pipelines because they're literally entrenched in the ground. They're already in use and the change cannot happen overnight if they just cut these things. The change is through transition and not the complete cut off, because this is very impractical. When they're still building the things that they're going to be using as alternatives, they're still relying on like Russian oil and Russian gas, and this is why we can't just like cut it off. And this is why that like the one that you're saying of like they're making a bit like there is like it's still being built. The reliance is still there. That's why they are going to still receive those secondary sanctions.